From Austin Film Festival, this is On Story, a look inside the creative process from today's leading writers, creators, and filmmakers. I'm your host, Barbara Morgan. This week on Story, a conversation on the animated tragicomedy series BoJack Horseman with two of its writers, Allison Flierl and Joe Lawson. The series follows Bojack, a washed-up former sitcom star who's trying to stage a comeback in Hollywood. While fighting against his own addiction and self-destructive tendencies, Bojack is also an anthropomorphic horse, inhabiting a world where humans and animals live side by side. The series, which ran for 6 seasons on Netflix, features the voice acting talents of Will Arnett, Amy Sedaris, and Aaron Paul, and a rotating cast of celebrity cameos. Before writing for BoJack Horseman, Joe Lawson worked as a writer on Shameless, Modern Family, and This Is Us. More recently, Lawson worked as a writer on Rian Johnson's Case of the Week murder mystery series, Poker Face. Lawson is joined by his fellow BoJack writer Alison Flierl, whose other writing credits include Conan and the School of Rock TV series. Flierl and Lawson sat down with AFF moderator Harrison Glaser to discuss their love-hate relationship with the character of Bojack and how working in an animated medium allowed them to tackle surprisingly serious topics. Clips of BoJack Horseman, courtesy of BoJack Productions LLC.
I'm curious, especially before it gets started, how they're even talking about the show, or like, how did they see it and how do they communicate that to you?
Most animated shows they ask for a pilot presentation, and it's just like a 10-minute thing of clips, like a little bit of story. Yeah. I had worked with Raphael Bob Waxberg on another show, and then fortunately Raphael asked me to come in and meet on BoJack, and I loved the presentation, and I already knew that I loved Raphael.
And they already had Will Arnett and Aaron Paul attached. And so, but one funny thing I remember Raphael telling me was that when he first pitched the show, they had said, "Does it have to be in Hollywood?" And he was like, "Yeah, it does." and that also, it almost went to CW, which would have been weird.
I mean, a different show.
It's such a huge get to get Aaron Paul and Will Arnett. Like, that's, I think, how it got to Netflix. Yeah. So they basically saved the show. And then once I heard that they were the cast, I was like, oh my God.
Well, and that was during the height of Breaking Bad.
It was peak Aaron Paul.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Were there specific themes or specific things that clearly were getting Raphael excited that spoke to you?
Loneliness and depression and alcoholism. And those are the 3 things we could talk about because it was animation. I think it would have been such a downer show, which, I mean, at times it was anyway, but such a downer show if it were live action. So I like the freedom that animation gave us to get weird and dark.
So from the beginning, the darkness and the loneliness was core to everyone?
Definitely.
For me.
It was edgy comedy, which is very fun. And I think any comedy writer has definitely had at least one bout of depression. So that's exciting.
Day one was... all we had was this mysterious 10-minute presentation, which wasn't a lot of stories, just like, this is the character designs, these are the voices, but there was no story. And so I remember walking in day one, it was just me and Peter Knight, and he...
and his guitar.
And his guitar. And there was no stories at all. So Raphael was in his office just trying to generate, season 1 arcs and what can we talk about? What's the show about? And I remember Peter's first pitch was a rock opera, and I was like, I'm not sure I should be on this show. But we figured it out eventually, once the other writers came on board.
Yeah, and you put a rock opera into it, or at least
eventually,
someone trying to make it.
He kept pushing that thing, and he finally got it through.
Good for him.
He wanted that to be like the first episode, and I think Raphael's like, I don't think we can start out on that foot.
Were you able to see the actual the animations, or see what these characters looked like before you started?
Lisa, who designed everything, was there in the office. So a lot of the images and everything would come in through the writer's room, be approved by Raphael or the writer of the episode, but more Raphael. So you definitely quickly saw what an amazing world they were creating, and then a lot of the animators were both in that building or across the street.
It's also really fun when you got to come up with an animal for your characters when it's your script.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, what if it was, an
Yeah, my favorite was the octopus in the control room.
But like seeing the characters and seeing what they look like, does that help you write them?
No.
Okay, I have other questions too.
For me, more it's like also the actors as you get to know them and being like, oh, wow, they can do so much and like what they bring to it, and then you want to write for them more.
Once really you do the first couple of table reads and you get to understand what the actor brings to the character, like Paul F. Tompkins, like the minute you heard him do Mr. Peanut Butter, you're like, all right, I know how to write that guy. Or Princess Carolyn, or BoJack was mostly fully formed.
Okay.
But like when you brought in, like even when we got Alison Brie, it was super exciting. And you're like, okay, now you do understand the character more once the actors. It's really from the table reads.
I feel like maybe could we do a Mr. Peanut Butter clip and talk about that a little?
Always.
It was a great segue.
And that noise means it's time for your first general knowledge question. Audience, does BoJack know things? BoJack, what is the average annual rainfall in Bora Bora?
This is general knowledge?
It's just an average we're asking for.
I don't know, 7?
Wrong! So wrong! Wow, when it comes to Bora Bora, maybe this celebrity should have studied Mora Mora.
Yes, Mr. Peanut Butter, go for the kill! That doesn't really seem fair.
It was so much fun to write that episode. Like when that was assigned to us, I was like, yes! And I love writing for Paul F. Tompkins, and he's, as you said, he's just so hilarious, and he gives 110%. I do remember for research, watching a lot of old game shows. And then also I remember writing at a restaurant in LA with my writing partner then, and that we were reading parts back to each other, and someone gave us a weird look because there was like a dog like line, and they were like, what are these people talking about?
So Mr. Peanut Butter is first of all, is he your favorite character, right? I think I heard that he was up there.
Yeah, he is definitely one of my top people to write for.
I guess how did you make sense of him, or how did you think of him as you wrote him? How did you kind of find his voice, which is optimistic and goofy and unaware and well-intentioned, but still annoying?
I mean, it's kind of me at 22. Like most people would call me more of a positive, happy person, and so I think like there was a bit of me in writing that.
But Paul is that person. Like Paul F. Tompkins is the nicest. He brings a lot of that energy as him just like hanging out.
When you're pitching to Raphael, like, did you notice, were there any patterns, or were there things that he really dug into the most? Were there things he pushed more for than other things, or reasons why he cut or had to question certain stories?
It's hard to know his brain, but it was important to him to push the envelope and to like explore certain topics that other people might not be comfortable exploring. So that was definitely really important to him. But as to why, sometimes you might just go off on a tangent on something that's funny and you don't need it for the story, like the Six Flags guy, like we didn't need it for the story. But also like he had such a vision and voice, he's such a voice that like I don't know if I always know exactly why the choice was, but then it worked when you look at the overall project. He's
a big yes and guy. Like, what if we didn't do that idea and instead did this? But it's like you said, like you just never knew what he was going to say, because a lot of it just depended on the day. Or there was a lot of conversations, like we talked about earlier, of how far can we go before we flat out make BoJack unlikable. Yeah. We always want to go up to that point, but not beyond it.
Yeah.
And that came up, pretty frequently. Is like, what can he do? How do we make people still not hate him, but make him a dark, difficult, complicated character?
Going back to this clip, I know we don't see this part, it's a little bit after the clip, but Daniel Radcliffe comes on and starts competing. Well, not according to BoJack competing, he's just playing and making BoJack unhappy that there's someone more famous than him. Yeah. But it does remind me of just how many incredible celebrity cameos are on here. Some playing characters like Lisa Kudrow, which we'll watch later, but some just playing versions of themselves and making fun of themselves. But can you talk about how you brought those people on, how many people like actually said yes, and how often you would have to like change everything if people ended up declining or things just changed?
A lot of people said yes. Sometimes it was, if someone said no, it was more just about schedule. Yeah. But like, because they could do it from, a phone. Like for the table reads and the main cast, most of them were there, but we had a couple people who would call in from New York or London. So a lot of people said yes.
Like Paul McCartney, for example. You know,
He actually was on the show.
he was on the show. Almost everyone said yes.
Were you writing these just like with the optimism that they're going to join this one, or did you like leave space to be like, X celebrity we'll end up finding is going to stand here?
Well, this episode we had sort of like, okay, we'll see who's available. So yeah, that was like waiting to find out who would be available and who would be game to like make fun of themselves a little bit.
Yeah.
The one person that I can remember that said absolutely no was for the episode Say Anything. We wanted Cameron Crowe to play a crow, obviously, and he would not do it. So we had to go with somebody else.
But there still was a Cameron Crowe character, just not voiced by Cameron Crowe?
Not voiced by Cameron
Okay.
Crowe, right.
They approached him, right?
I don't think Raphael wanted...
To bother him?
I think he was like, he thought it would not be additive, like it would be a distraction. I mean, sometimes that was a discussion.
I'm more interested in the dynamics of the word Finch is already is in his name. So why did you
Why
go
not a
with Fincher?
Finch? That's Raphael in a nutshell.
Never
He's like,
an easy
that's
way.
you on the nose. I'm like, but we did Cameron Crowe. We didn't do Cameron Snow. So
Snow Leopard.
Exactly. Should have worked on the show.
While we're on this episode, I want to do one more clip from this episode to talk a little bit more about your experience and also kind of go into the animation of it.
We're live in 5 minutes, folks.
Make way.
Someone find out the average rainfall in Bora Bora.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Hey, there are a lot of advantages to being the girlfriend of a big celebrity. It's more than just being an elbow they couldn't out of a red carpet shot in Us Weekly.
I've been that elbow.
Hello, what have we here?
So you know how the game's played, right?
I'm sure I'll pick it up. How hard could it be?
You didn't read the treatment? I faxed it to you.
My bad. Our fax machine isn't plugged in.
BoJack, this is our first show, and it is very important that things run smoothly tonight. I mean, do you even care about this at all?
Sweetie, no. I think this is stupid and a waste of everybody's time, but you're my girlfriend, and I care about you, so I'm here.
Okay, break a leg.
Me, my. Wow, 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 wow. Good boy. Good boy.
Okay, this is it, everybody. Moment of truth. Now it's in the hands of God, and for the next 30 minutes, I am that God.
Just so impressive for an animated show to be this involved and to have like that kind of Birdman, West Wing, like that is probably harder and like ambitious than I've ever seen other like animated shows really do. So first of all, can you talk about, do you remember like this part of writing this episode?
It was really fun, and Raphael had told us like he had referenced West Wing and wants to be like walking, talking shot. Like a lot's happening. I don't know if also because I had worked at Conan and there's a lot that happens like behind the scenes. I don't know if that's why he assigned us, but definitely like drew from that and just like how many people are working behind the scenes. And I know for the animators, when they got the script, were like, like it was a really hard one to animate because of so much movement and so much happening. But they did obviously an awesome job.
I do want to talk about your relationship with the animators. Like, what is that? What are those conversations like? How are you ensuring that they see what you see?
I'll talk about your episode. Yeah. No, they love scenes like that. I mean, they're very difficult, but it gives them so many opportunities to insert visual jokes, which we loved. Like they would. It was like very collaborative. Like they would obviously do our jokes that were written in there, but we loved like the surprising stuff that they would come back with. And most of it's sort of in the background, which just adds to like the density of a scene.
Like the monkey who's in the background, like swinging, like that was something they added.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes it more rewatchable, I think.
Do you remember what the script actually looked like? There's so much happening. Some that's just animated, some that's just like really quick throwaways or aside. Some are just like a foreshadowing of things coming up, but it's dense and it's again ambitious and hard. I'm curious, like, what was that like? What was writing it like? What did the script actually? Do you remember what the script or the page looked like?
It had a lot of crosstalk. There might have been some dual dialogue in final draft. Yeah, it was a dense action lines, but you also want to keep a lot of weight too. You don't want it to just be so like making sure what's on the page is important and will be used.
Oh, totally. That's
also
awesome.
Page count is everything, so you gotta like you can't put everything in there because then all of a sudden the director freaks out because you come in at 40 pages and he's like, this will take 8 months. Yeah. So you try to keep it to a minimum.
Got it.
Because even though it was a streaming show, we did still write to a 3-act structure, which then I guess later when it was on Comedy Central, that was helpful for commercial breaks.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that. Like, especially Allison, for you, because you came from the world of Conan from talk shows. There is a very specific structure to this, and to animated, 30-minute animated in general, A stories, B stories, things like that. How did you kind of learn about that, how was that talked about? How did you kind of personally and just as a group kind of start gripping that structure?
I always read a lot of scripts. Like I always have, and I still do all the time. I've told writing students just like read as many scripts as possible because then you kind of learn structure. In terms of structuring at BoJack, like the beats were broken in the room by the group and then approved by Raphael before you ever went off to write. So like once the beats were approved, then you went off and wrote an outline. You had about a week to do that. And then got some notes on the outline, and then you had about a week to write a first draft. And then got some more notes and then table read. But in terms of learning structure, I mean, I highly recommend watching TV too, paying attention to where, like in network TV, where the act breaks are, where the commercial breaks are, and just read as many scripts as possible. It's also fun to watch a TV show with subtitles on to kind of see where the dialogue's landing in places too, and I find that interesting sometimes.
We were talking, we saw the octopus there. We were talking a little bit about the Cameron Crows. I kind of just want to talk about the world building because it's so silly and ridiculous and yet consistent. like you really do build something that is structurally sound, that continues to be, to evolve, but never like contradict itself.
Anytime we got to leave Los Angeles, I got really excited. So when we got to go to Tsukuba, which you'll see, when everyone where we went to Wesleyan University, like that, because then you got to see whole new backgrounds. So that, for me, animation-wise, was always exciting. Like, I'm tired of BoJack's house. Yeah. But it's also fun to, like, what if we come back to BoJack's house and it's trashed? Yeah. Because, Diane's been living there. So.
Yeah.
And the ocean episode was really fun to see. Like, what the animation
Fish underwater is
amazing.
Yeah.
So what are those conversations like when you're like, okay, we're in a brand new place. We're now in this whole new state.
Well, what are the rules, especially for fish out of the water? Like, when you go into those new scenes or settings, you got to figure out, like, what is possible and what's not possible. Like, how is this world different than Los Angeles or BoJack's house or a set? One of the reasons I think the show works is he, like you say, he has such a strong vision. He knows what the show, the whole time, he knows what the show is and what the show isn't. And what I've realized, I'm sure you have too, is that that's what makes good shows. Like when the showrunner knows exactly, has a strong vision. The shows that suck are when the showrunner is indecisive and doesn't have any idea what is possible or not possible.
I want to play the deer collision clip and then kind of talk about world building there.
BoJack to the rescue. We should definitely go back. Nothing more we can do here.
If you don't want to do this with me, you can wait in the car.
What is your plan here exactly?
Oh.
What is it?
Footprints, 400 yards ahead.
How can you see that far in the dark?
I'm an owl.
All right. Okay, now you're just showing off.
Are you okay? Ow!
Stay back. There's more pine cones where that came from.
Let us take you to the hospital.
I can't go back to no hospital. This is the 4th time I've been hit this year.
Well, maybe you shouldn't wear camouflage tracksuits.
I don't have health care. I didn't pay my bills, so I'm in arrears.
A deer in arrears. What's that? She can't hear you. She's got a deer in her ears.
Look, pal, I'll pay the bill. Just let us get you to a damn hospital.
I don't know.
Hey, I know you've been hurt, and I know you're afraid. We're all afraid. But you have to trust us. It's gonna be okay.
Not standing in the middle of the road will also help in the future.
You're not gonna hurt me again?
I am not going to hurt you.
Okay. Ow! Ah!
Starting now.
In a world where everyone's sentient and everyone is, whatever the word is, conscious and people-like, deers still get hit in the middle of the road. But what would it look like if they're worried about health insurance?
BoJack had just told Wanda that he thinks they're going too fast. And then they hit a deer. But he's talking about the relationship. Yeah. And then the deer runs off. And what I like about that clip is that, first of all, it's sort of thematically on point, where BoJack's constantly saying, I won't hurt you, and then ends up hurting people, which he does throughout the series. And I also like, certainly the goofy joke that Lisa Kudrow pulls off with the English accent. I think that shows how goofy we would get. But then it's sort of, there's a tiny poignant moment that I'm proud of because it's not overwritten, where she just says, trust us, we're not going to hurt you. It's going to be okay. So I like zigzagging between the goofiness and the sort of the sentiment. I was so thrilled when I heard Wanda was being played by Lisa Kudrow, and then she came to the table read, and she's such a delight because she would not stop laughing. Like she couldn't
so
get through.
supportive.
She couldn't get through the script. It's not that funny, but she just it brought such a great energy to the whole cast and to the room, and it made everybody excited. And she did that every time she showed up. And she's just such a great voice talent as well.
Also, when Alan Arkin got cast as J.D. Salinger, I was just like, and also he wasn't at the table because he was out of the state, but I remember that he called Raphael and he was like, it was really important to him to do a good job, and he, like, you could tell what a professional I mean, obviously you know that because he's Alan Arkin, but like just playing a voice of J.D. Salinger on this animated show, he took it so seriously, and he was so impressive.
I think it's time, just like a good episode of BoJack, to kind of stop talking about jokes and start getting into our feelings. It is the sad horse show after all, so let's talk about the sad part of it. What were the main questions that Raphael was trying to get at that you found interesting about who we are as people on this earth?
We talked a lot about, over the course of the entire show, about what it means to be a good person. And there's lots of people who say they want to be good people, but it doesn't matter what you say, and it doesn't matter if you ask someone if you're a good person and they say yes. What matters is your actions. That's what determines if you're a good person or not. So ultimately, BoJack is not a good person. At least that's what I think. And it was but that was a lot of discussion in the room, is like, is he good or bad? And does he really want to be good, or does he just want validation and he wants somebody to let him off the hook?
I just found it so interesting, like with him, he kind of has everything in terms of, I mean, like financial security, a nice home, and he's just never going to be happy. And there are definitely some of those people in Hollywood, and they're kind of fascinating to me. And it taught me that, you know, it's good to strive for creative goals and success. Like, success is not the thing that's going to make you happy. So therapy might help. So yeah, I loved exploring this person, but also it made me, just very aware of some of the people around me who can be like that, and to not let them suck your energy.
How do you change the subject that drastically to start talking about the human condition?
I feel like a lot of mornings we would come in and just talk about like what's going on in the world. And that's probably somehow that indirectly led to, what if he steals the D and it turns into Hollywood for the rest of the series. But I think it started with something that, I don't even remember what the genesis of, but it normally comes out of a day-to-day event, and then next thing you know, you're talking about, what if Cameron Crowe was a crow? Or, you know, so it's not organic. It's like, it's very, very random, which I think the show reflects. But we definitely had often conversations about, this is too sad or this is too dark, and finding that level. And then a lot of times you just got to see where the story takes you. I mean, there's certain times where Raphael would be like, this is super dark, but it's the right thing to do. And it's, more importantly, it's what BoJack would do, even though it's something reprehensible. But you're like, that's what, you got to be true to the character, I think.
I'm sure you love the characters you're writing. What is it like how does it feel like to start to keep on putting these characters you love into these horrible situations?
It's a love-hate. Like, it's exciting because you get to explore the darkness, but it's definitely about humanity. But you do always want to protect the characters, especially BoJack. And this isn't the only bad thing that there are people dead because of BoJack. So it's just another thing where, as we know, we're coming to the end of the series, you got to remind the audience, because they'll give them slack. I mean, they'll let them off the hook. And you kind of got to double down on the fact that, like, hey, remember, this is a show about a bad guy, a narcissist.
We would not be friends with him in real life, probably.
Yeah. I did notice, as dirty or inappropriate sometimes as a show like this is, there are very few F words.
Yeah, Raphael had a rule that he thought in just TV, and especially in streaming, and especially on Netflix, that the F word was overused, and therefore made it less meaningful and impactful. So he kind of had this unwritten rule where we could only say the F word one time a season. And if you got to use the F word, you got so excited.
So what did you learn about what you could get away with animation? And were there opposites? Were there things that you were like, well, because it's animated, we can't include this? Like, what were the bounds that you kind of had to feel out and learn about that medium?
The hard part about animation, and the good part, is that anything's possible. So there's a lot more decisions to be made versus live action. Live action is very limiting, mainly because of a budget standpoint. Not that we don't have budgets in animation, but you got to think like all these jokes or what's animated, it's got to serve the character and serve the story. Otherwise, it's just animating stuff for the hell of it.
On Story is brought to you in part by the Alice Kleberg Reynolds Foundation, a Texas family providing innovative funding since 1979. On Story is also brought to you by Bogle Family Vineyards, 6th-generation farmers and 3rd-generation winemakers based in Clarksburg, California. Makers of sustainably grown wines that are a reflection of their family values since 1968. The project is supported in part by the Texas Commission on the Arts. This show is produced by myself, Barbara Morgan, Elizabeth Mims, and Emily Locke. Our associate producer is Freya Neely, and our editor is Rishi Bajekal. Music is by Brian Ramos. Copywriting by Mazzy Smallwood. Production assistance comes from Dennis Moniger, Travis Kennedy Sound, Phil Mazzetti, and KUT 90.5 in Austin. Go to austinfilmfestival.com to learn more about Austin Film Festival and Conference each October. Until next time, I'm Barbara Morgan, and this has been Austin Film Festival's On Story.